Family that left me on the streets at 16, now 30 years later want to apologize and make up for lost time. Okay, as a mild lurker on Reddit, thought I would share my story and newest development in my life after 30 years. Might be a bit long, but will do my very best to give you context without too much fluff. Hope this is the right sub. So I lost my mom when I was 12 to breast cancer. So that just left me and my dad. It was a tough time, but we got through it together. When I was 14, Dad met and married my stepmom Ashley, who brought with her my stepbrother Mark, 14, and stepsister Emily, 12. I got along with Ashley and Emily really well, but Mark, not so much so. He and I were always getting into arguments and fights. I was always told by my dad to give Mark a break because he's been the man of his house for a while. So this is all new. Like somehow it wasn't new to me. Anyways, when I was 15, I met a girl at school, Lisa, and we started dating. As much as one can date at 15. However, Mark apparently had a crush on her and was mad that I asked her out. He started a fight over it, in which my dad had to intervene once again. And somehow I again was made to be the bad guy. One day after my 16th birthday, my stepmom was putting away my laundry and started yelling. Which was awkward because my girlfriend Lisa was there. We all ran thinking the worst. When we got to my room, my stepmom was holding several pairs of my sister's underwear, yelling at me why they are in my drawer. I had no answer as I'd never seen them before. Of course, no one believed me. No matter how much protesting I did. Then Mark piped up saying he always caught me staring at his sister, thought it was creepy, and caught me once saying I wish I could marry her. Obviously lying, but that was all it took. Lisa slapped me and called me a perv and told me we were done and walked out. My dad grabbed me by the arm and threw me out of the house. Yelling at me that he wasn't gonna put his daughter at risk from a perv, not the word he used, but you get it. I banged on the door to be let in, crying and telling them it was all lies told by Mark. My dad apparently had enough. I heard the locks. He opened the door and shoved me to the ground and told me to get lost. I told him I had nowhere to go and he said that wasn't his problem, then closed the door. I found myself on the streets, with nothing to my name. No place to go. I tried calling my dad's parents, but he had already called them and they told me they want help, a perv. My mom's parents passed away before I was born. Well, I lived on the streets for 2 years, doing what I had to in order to survive. No kid should have had to do what I had to do, in order to just live, just saying. There were some really dark days. Lots of therapy later in life helped me with this. Shortly after I turned 18, I found a job working at a boxing gym, states away from where I began this horrible journey. I worked there for years. Learned the sport, never gonna beat Mike Tyson, but was good at the sport, which helped me with my hate and anger. Then one day met a new girl, Aim, 20F, at the cafe down the street from the gym. At this point I was 35, I know, huge age gap, but we just clicked. I don't believe in fate, or soulmates or any of that stuff like that, but if there is such a thing, we had it. Don't know how else to put it. We dated for 2 years and then got married. Her dad was an electrician and hired me on afterwards. I think mostly to know I would be able to support his daughter and know I was doing right by her, but also in case he needed to keep me in check. He never said this, but as a dad, I get it now. Well, 15 years later we are still together with 4 beautiful daughters. I just passed my master's license as an electrician. Thanks to my wife for pushing me to get my GED. She has been my rock, my cheerleader, my overall support through this all, and I can't tell her enough how much she changed my life and how much I love her. Anyways, sorry for the tangent, so just this last weekend, I received an email from my stepsister. Not sure how she got my email address, but I know it isn't hard via the internet, not like I've been hiding. Mind you, I'm now pushing 53, so it's been 30+ years since I've heard from any of them. It was a long email. Not gonna give you all of it, but the meat of it is, they now know what really happened. Mark, I guess, was busy drinking with his buddies on Friday and somehow my name was mentioned. Mark, I guess, started bragging how he set me up and took my girl. Yup, Mark and Lisa got together, married, all those years ago. They were all laughing, hoping I died on the streets, bunch of rude and vile stuff. Guess he forgot Lisa was there and she heard it all. So she called my stepsister to let her know, and so Emily spent all weekend trying to find me. Like I said, the email was long. Short of it is, they want to apologize face to face, although it was already said in the email multiple times, and want to make up for lost time. I'm however indifferent to the idea. Like, I have no ill feelings towards her, she obviously was young and had no real say in the matter. But with lots and lots of therapy, I learned to let go of that hate and anger and to let go of them. As well, with all the love I receive from my wife, kids, and in-laws, it's all I really need. I'm of the idea of just deleting the email and moving on like nothing happened. My wife thinks I should at least respond back, even if to say something snarky like, "Thanks for finally believing me," only took over 30 years. Did I mention my wife has a mean/petty streak to her, lol. She's awesome. Guess not asking for advice, just wanted to share my story. There is a boxing quote that I have up in my house that reminds me every day. To see a man beaten not by a better man, but by himself is a tragedy. Edited, pushing 50 to 53, because apparently, people are getting hung up on my age. Because you know if it's not perfect. Guess that's Reddit for ya. Update. First, I want to thank everyone for their kind words and advice. I wasn't looking for advice, just wanted a place to share my story. To those that gave me credit for overcoming everything, thank you, however the wife thinks she deserves most of it, lol. And in all honesty, she does. To those that think this is fake. It's Reddit, I get it, it is what it is. Most things have to be taken with a grain of salt. I shared my story, I can't make you believe me. But that's okay, if my story resonates and helps others know they can survive, then I'm happy with that, and that's all that matters. Okay, for the update. Gonna post most of the original email as a lot of you have requested, kept out some deep personal info but majority of it is there. Might have to break it up due to character limit. Plus a response with the help of my wife. And also the help of others who made suggestions, which is good because I'm not that great at putting down in words how I feel without coming off looking dumb. She was able to make me sound less dumb. LOL. Taking the family to the lake for the weekend to recharge and leave this all behind me. Thanks again to everyone. Email from stepsister. Dear OP. This is your sister Emily. As I sit down to finally reach out to you after what feels like an eternity, I would like to explain why. I understand if you choose not to read this, but I truly hope you will take the time to at least hear me out. First of all, I want to apologize for never taking the time to contact you before. I was misled by Mark and Dad, who constantly painted a negative picture of you in my mind. They filled my head and heart with lies and made me believe that you were someone you were not. For a while, I held on to hope that you would come back home, but as time passed and their words continued to poison my thoughts, I let go of that hope and allowed myself to believe the worst about you. It pains me to admit that I even started to hate you, despite the fact that deep down, I always considered you a brother to me. I felt betrayed by the twisted image that was presented to me, and I regret not reaching out to hear your side of the story sooner. A lot has changed in our family since you left. I got married, and now you're an uncle. Mom and Dad are still together, and are preparing for retirement. Mark and Lisa eventually got married, and they have no children. However, the truth that has recently come to light has shaken the very foundation of everything I thought I knew. On Friday, Lisa overheard Mark boasting about how he orchestrated the setup against you, how he manipulated the situation to make you look bad, and how he convinced us to turn against you to his friends as they all got drunk. They laughed about the pain he caused you and the lies he spread, all while belittling you in the cruelest and meanest ways possible. Saying things like they hope you died in the streets. Lisa couldn't keep this bombshell to herself, and when she confided in me, my world came crashing down. To think that I could have been so wrong about you for all these years is a heavy burden to bear. I can't begin to express how deeply sorry I am, as is Lisa. We both realize now the extent of the manipulation and deceit that was carried out against you, and we are devastated by this fact. After sharing this revelation with Mom and Dad, Dad started crying, like really crying. I've never seen him cry before. I believe it because he has been carrying around a lot of guilt all these years. Obviously, now knowing the truth, he is now having to deal with the consequences of his actions. However, after several hours of talking, we all came to the conclusion that we needed to find you and make amends. I have spent hours trying to locate you, in the hopes that I could reach out and extend a heartfelt apology for the years of misunderstanding and mistreatment and hurt. I know that words can never undo the damage that has been done to you, but I sincerely hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive us. We long to make amends, to start anew, and to maybe even make up for lost time. Please know that I am truly sorry for the pain and hurt that you have endured because of our ignorance and blindness. I hope that someday we can meet in person, so that I can look you in the eye and express my remorse face to face. I can only hope that you will consider giving us a chance to right the wrongs of the past and to heal the wounds that have been inflicted on you by us. With all my love and sincerest apologies, your sister, Emily. Email response from Opie. Dear Emily, I appreciate you taking the time to reach out to me, but I must be honest with you. The years of pain and hurt caused by the lies and manipulation by Mark and the betrayal by Dad have left deep scars that will never be truly healed. While I understand that you are now aware of the truth and are genuinely sorry for what has transpired, I find it difficult to simply forgive and forget. The betrayal and abandonment I experienced at the hands of my own family have left me with a sense of distrust and resentment that can never be overcome. The damage that has been done has impacted me in ways that you may never ever fully and truly understand, and the idea of trying to reconcile now feels like an insurmountable task. I have spent years in therapy trying to come to terms with the pain and deep trauma I endured, and I have worked hard to build a wonderful life for myself that does not rely on the presence or approval of those who turned their backs on me. While I am grateful for the apology and the newfound awareness of the truth, I do not feel compelled to rekindle a relationship that was built on lies, deception, and betrayal. Especially after all these years. I have found peace and closure in distancing myself from those who caused me harm, and I do not see the need to reopen old wounds in the name of reconciliation. While I believe in the power of forgiveness, that isn't something I can give. I wish you all the best in your life, I really do, but I must prioritize my emotional health and self-preservation above all else. I hope you can respect my decision and understand that the wounds of the past will take a lifetime to heal. I would appreciate if you pass this fact on to the others, and please don't reach out again. I must look to my future and not my past. Sincerely, Opie. Final update. Hey everyone, it's been a hot minute since I've stopped in and updated you all. First, what to thank everyone who's still been reaching out and commenting on my post. So just have a final update for you all. I know a lot of you worried about my former family reaching out after I asked them to basically let me live my life in peace. But thankfully all has been quiet. I think my response made it clear they weren't family anymore and decided to accept it. Outside of that, everything has been good. Actually more than good. Found out we are having a baby boy. Although this wasn't planned, we are super excited, as are the girls. Not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous. I think my wife can tell, she just keeps telling me I'm a great dad and not to worry. And yeah, after this one, we are done and I'll be going in for the snip. In the words of Sergeant Murtaugh, I'm too old for this crap. Just wanted to leave you guys with a little dad advice. Work hard, but stay humble. Never forget how hard you worked to get where you are today. Never forget who you are, is so much greater than what you do. Next story. My dad found his biological parents and it turns out they've been searching for him for 56 years. I'm not sure this is the place to post this, but I just want to get my excitement out somewhere, so I figured that counts as getting off my chest. Shout out to Slash, who helped me discover this subreddit. As you would expect from the title, my dad, M56, was adopted at birth. He was raised in Eastern Canada and never really searched for his birth parents. The people who raised him are his parents to him and he loves them very much. They have always been amazing grandparents to my sister, F19, and I, M22. All he had from his birth parents was a letter which told him he was born out of love, but they could not support him when he was born. So when my sister decided to get him a genetic test for Christmas, it was purely with the intention to find out what ethnicity we all are, and the thought of finding his birth parents didn't even cross our minds. Eventually, when we got his results, we were surprised to find the names of two people with perfect genetic matches to my dad. He had the option to reach out to them, so he wrote them each an email and just waited for their responses. Almost immediately, his biological dad, who I'll call Jim, not his real name, responded. He said how excited and happy he was to have found my dad and how he was looking for him for so long. My dad, who is usually an emotionally reserved man, was curled up on the couch grinning as he was texting Jim for the first time. I was still in shock from the news, but was so happy to see my dad, even happier than when I graduated uni. Soon thereafter, he also received a message from his biological mom, Debbie, not her real name. By talking to them both, my dad learned the story of his birth, and I think that it's absolutely wild. Debbie is the daughter of an Australian mining engineer, and they all moved to Canada for his work when she was in high school. Later on, they moved to the Midwest where she met Jim at the age of 17. They were high school sweethearts and were thinking of marriage after they graduated, but then Debbie got pregnant. This being the 60s, this was a huge deal. Her dad was furious and sent her back to Canada to give birth and arranged a private adoption, as he knew of a couple who were trying to have a kid, my grandparents. Once she gave birth, she was able to let Jim know that she was being sent back to Australia. They never saw each again for the next 40 years. Jim apparently was only able to move on once he received a letter over 5 years later from Debbie, saying that she got married. Eventually, he got married too, and they moved to the West Coast, but his wife got into a terrible car crash and lost the use of both legs and one arm, so they were never able to have kids. Debbie had 3 daughters in Australia, the oldest of which is 7 years younger than my dad. They saw each other for the first time around 12 years ago, as they reconnected on Facebook, and Debbie happened to be taking a trip to the west coast of America. Both Jim and Debbie had always wanted to keep my dad, and so they tried for decades to find him. But my province apparently is one of the hardest places in the world to find adoption information, especially since my dad only received his birth certificate at his baptism, so their names were not on it. Jim had essentially given up trying to find my dad until genetic tests became popular. He asked Debbie to take every single one, and he did the same, about 5 years ago, in the hopes that one day my dad would take one. When he received my dad's message, he immediately wrote to Debbie, "I found him." Since then, we have had several calls with Jim and his wife, and they are absolutely lovely. We are their only family since they don't have kids, and I couldn't be happier. At the end of the month, we'll be flying to the West Coast to meet them. It has been harder to talk to Debbie as Australia is so many hours ahead of us, but she also is so kind and an absolute joy to talk to. I haven't met my 3 new aunts yet, but apparently one lives in London. It's crazy to think that I might have been within a few kilometers of her the few times I've visited. I also have 5 new younger cousins. A couple of them are huge fans of Japanese culture, so they're ecstatic to hear that they have half Japanese cousins. My mum is Japanese Canadian, so my sister and I are both half. We hope to visit them one day in Australia, but we might all meet up in Japan next year. I don't know how to end this, I am still processing everything. It's absolutely incredible to have my family grow so much, but also a little overwhelming. I'm so happy for my dad, for Jim, and for Debbie, and am so excited to get to know them better. I hope I get to meet my new cousins soon too. I feel so incredibly lucky that this happened, seemingly against all odds. My dad was initially raised Francophone, so it's a miracle that they even speak the same language. Anyways, thank you so much for taking the time to read through this, and my apologies for how long this post ended up being. I might post an update after I meet Jim and his wife. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Update. First of all, thank you so much to everyone who left such kind and heartfelt comments on my first post. It's incredible hearing all of your stories. To those who were concerned that we would abandon my grandparents that I grew up with, that is most definitely not the case. They were the people I grew up with and I absolutely love them to bits, although only my grandmother is still with us. All the incredible times I've had with her growing up are so much more important than blood, and I can't comprehend the stories I read where people forget about their adoptive parents or grandparents when they find their biological ones. I won't recap my previous post here because I'm lazy So, we just got back from visiting Jim and his wife, who I'll call Mary, not her real name, on the West Coast, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. We spent a week in their city and got to experience so much with them. Our first time meeting them in person was very emotional and felt very surreal. We spent the whole day looking through my dad's and our old photos, basically catching Jim up on everything that he has missed over the past 56 years. We also got to see so many of his and Mary's old photos too, which was very cool. We went to a park near their house, and on the walk, I heard Jim whisper, "My son," with a massive smile across his face. Throughout the week, we explored their city and saw so many cool sights and tried so much delicious food. Mary knows her city so well, and it was great to see her favorite spots all around the city, from food carts to gardens to museums. We all went to an incredible Japanese-American museum, and Jim and Mary absolutely loved it. They were very keen to learn about the internment during World War II and said that they knew a bit about it before, but now it feels so personal. We went on 2 hikes with Jim. Mary wasn't able to come because she is in a wheelchair. It's so cool to have such an active and outdoorsy grandfather who is able to go on such long hikes. He taught us some foraging tips and told us stories from when he used to camp for years on end. Both he and Mary are very spiritual, so he also told us great stories from meditation retreats they've done. He's even tried psychedelics, so he's definitely the cool grandpa. I won't go into precise details of places we went, but it was great exploring such a cool part of the world with amazing people. We were all very sad when the trip was over and we had to leave. I've gained 2 new grandparents on the West Coast and I couldn't be happier. And they said that they've gained 2 grandchildren. I'm so glad that they see us as such. Mary told me her greatest regret in life was not being able to have children and grandchildren, but now she does. This has been such a transformative time in our lives, and I think it's incredible how many people are so much happier now because my sister just happened to get my dad a DNA test. This is just the beginning of our relationship with our new grandparents, and I am so excited. Now we have to figure out a way to go to Australia to meet Debbie. Whenever that happens, maybe I'll make another update. Until then, I hope you all have a lovely day, and thank you so much for taking the time to read our story. Next story. Future mother-in-law, 54F, called me, 23F, stupid, and now I'm considering calling off the wedding. How do I approach the situation? I, 23F, am engaged to John, 24M. We are together for 5 years. We want to get married in July 2025. I always thought that his family liked me because we get along well. He has 2 older brothers, 26M, 29M, both married. Honestly, I was very excited to have them all as my in-laws. They were always kind to me. Some kind of important information. About a year ago when I was scrolling on Instagram, I saw a profile that was kind of cringy but in a cute way. It was an older woman's profile who shared inspirational quotes. I remember one particular post, and it was something in the lines of, "Only stupid people pretend to know everything. Don't pretend. Just ask." Honestly, this quote changed me in a lot of ways. Before that, I was always worried that I might embarrass myself if I don't know something, and after reading that quote I realized that if I always pretend that I know everything, then I'll miss out on actually getting to learn about things. So I decided to change my habits and start admitting that sometimes I genuinely don't know. Someone is talking about the war in Kosovo. Okay, sure, but first let me ask some questions so I can really understand what we're talking about. And I ask a lot of questions sometimes. I sometimes even open the Notes app and write in some questions that I later want to find answers to. These are my latest. How does the time work in the black hole? Why some snails have shells and others don't? What food is okay for ducks? How does the light bulb work, the old ones with gas inside them? Does everyone see colors the same? And how can we know that? Sorry for the long introduction, but it was kind of necessary for understanding what kind of person I am. I know that sometimes I might come across as annoying. Now on to the problem. His parents hosted a small barbecue last weekend only for the family. So it was the mom, 54F, dad, 59M, brothers, 26M, 29M, and their wives, 27F, 27F. I was the last person who showed up because I had to work late. I entered the house, and when I was walking towards the back of the house into the backyard, I heard John's mom talking about me. To be honest, she wasn't talking about me, more like mocking me. I heard her say in a high-pitched voice, "How does the sun work? Where should I put the fork? Why does nobody like me? How do I wipe my butt?" I just stood there. I had this sinking feeling. I couldn't move, so I just stood there. And I heard them all laughing. One of the wives said, I actually don't mind her always asking questions. I think it's cute, and it made me feel hopeful that they will say something like, yeah sure, we're just playing, we love that. But none of them did. Instead the mom replied, it's not cute. She's just stupid. After that they laughed again. I heard John laughing. My heart kind of broke in that moment because he didn't even say one positive thing. He didn't defend me. He just laughed. I quietly turned around and left the house. I texted John that I got sick and have to stay home. Now I'm wondering how should I approach this situation. We live together and I sleep in the guest bedroom for now, and I use the excuse that I don't want him to get sick from being around me. I can't ignore him forever and I can't pretend to be sick anymore, because it's been too long. I'm not sure how do I proceed. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. I'm considering talking to them about this, but I'm also worried that they won't be honest with me. I can't marry him if he really thinks I'm stupid. But I also can't marry into a family who thinks so little of me. But maybe it was a joke and I shouldn't take it so seriously. I'm so torn apart, and every day I convince myself a bit more that it's okay and sometimes we should all laugh about ourselves. Now I feel like I'm just going crazy. I would really appreciate some advice. TLDR, overheard future mother-in-law calling me stupid and my fiancé laughed. Considering leaving him. I'm wondering if it might be just a joke and maybe a misunderstanding. Need advice on how to navigate the situation. Edit. There are many comments saying that they cannot stand people like me. I agree that sometimes I can be a bit too much with the questions, but with that being said I still think I'm within reason. I don't do it around people I just met, I rarely do it at parties or other gatherings. I usually do it with people who are close to me, who I think wouldn't judge me, or with people who specifically have knowledge about something and are willing to share it. If I'm a part of a conversation, I'm not rude and I'm not interrupting, I usually just ask one or two questions. If a discussion is about the climate change, I'm not asking about monkeys, if you know what I'm saying. I'm also not a complete dumb. I don't ask questions which generally would be considered dumb to other people. Those I just write in the notes and check answers later in the internet. I'm capable of reading, so I make good use of it. But after all, I still do ask questions a lot. Update. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to people who reached out to answer my questions about black holes, snails, ducks, light bulbs, and other stuff. I would love to have you as my friends. For the other people who said I should just shut up, I don't really care if you find me annoying or hard to be around. I'm okay with that. I don't exist to please everyone. I'm just here for a good time, have my own interests and learn. I didn't expect my post to gain so much attention, but I'm so grateful for the advice. Most of you told me to break up with him and at the very least confront him, so that's what I decided to do. You gave me a push and confidence to do it. But before I did that, I texted the wife of John's brother, the one who said she liked me asking questions. I asked if we can meet up for coffee. She said sure. We met and I didn't see the point in pretending to her that I didn't hear their conversation. So after some small talk I just said, I heard you all talking about me during the barbecue. She immediately got sad and said she feels embarrassed. She explained that it wasn't a joke, wasn't out of context, that it was just mean and hurtful. She said she's sorry for not defending me more, but I said it's okay and I understand. I told her that I don't blame her for anything, and just wanted to make sure that I understand the situation and see it for what it really was. And it really was laughing about me behind my back. Just bullying. At this point I just had to confront John. In my last post so many comments were saying that he will probably try gaslighting me. And you were right. We were having dinner together for the first time since the barbecue happened, because before I tried my best to avoid him. Yes, I know, not very mature of me, but other than you guys I don't really have a strong support system. My family and best friends are hundreds of kilometers away. I only have 2 good friends here. I was so stressed I thought I'm going to pass out. My legs were shaking and I was terrified because I knew deep down that this is the moment when my 5-year relationship goes down the drain. I looked him in the eyes and asked, how does the sun work? He looked confused, so I followed with, where should I put my fork? Why does nobody like me? At this point realization hit him and he started nervously laughing. I said I was there and I heard them. After the initial shock passed, he got mad. He said it's rude to eavesdrop. I said it's rude to bully people. He tried telling me that it was just a joke. That I shouldn't be so uptight. That it really was funny. I said that I didn't find it funny and went to the guests to calm down. He started panicking. He was asking me to please talk to him. He was much more apologetic and said that he will be 100% honest with me. I asked if his mother made similar comments before the barbecue. He said yes. I asked him if he ever defended me. He said he tries to. I don't know if I believe him. He told me he loves me and respects me. I don't know if I believe it either. I said that I love him too, but I need a break. He's all I ever known. He was my first and only partner. I have no outside perspective of this, I have no experience. I need a moment to think. I will be going to my friend's house for a while to think everything through. The apartment has his name on the lease anyway. After I gathered some of my things and left, he kept texting me non-stop. He tried calling but I didn't respond. I was very hurt because he tried to belittle my feelings and only later when he realized that I might break up with him, started apologizing. The next day I decided to give him another chance to explain himself and I came back to the apartment. He seemed very sad and tired. He said that he told his mother that I overheard them. I said I don't care. It's his time to step up and show me that he cares. I'm not interested in an apology from his mother. I'm already done with her. I can't put up with this behavior and mocking me like we're in primary school. I saw a comment saying that probably her ego is hurting. I think it's true. She never got the chance or never had desire to have an education. She is a very good homemaker but outside of that she doesn't have many interests of her own. If I'm asking her about making tomato soup she will be talking for 30 minutes lecturing me about adding enough sugar, but not too much. She will lecture anyone who is willing to listen. But anytime someone is talking about something she's not familiar with, she gets defensive and try to imply that nobody cares about that and if it's not relevant to her, it shouldn't be discussed. Once again he tried telling me that I should relax because it was only a joke and at this point I had enough. I took of my ring and told him that his behavior is a joke and I can't be the punchline. I told him that I wish him and his family the best and to look in the mirror to check if they really are as superior as they think they are. I said I'm going to be back with my friend soon to pick up the rest of my stuff and to not contact me again unless it's about moving my things out. And that's it. I'm done. Thank you all for the advice. Without you I wouldn't have the confidence to leave this man. I know I deserve better. I can't be with someone who can't stand up for me, and I wouldn't be able to feel comfortable around his family, so I'm done with the relationship. I hope they will treat his next girlfriend better. Thank you again Reddit for advice. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel James Stories.